This is a metal threaded insert, and today I will be testing it head to head against wood tap threads for strength and durability. Which one will come out on top? The results will surprise you. Look, not every furniture can be glued permanently into a giant piece that cannot fit in cars or through doors. So I completely understand the need to use threaded inserts to be able to take something apart for transportation purpose. If you're like me, you might say metal is stronger than wood, right? So threaded inserts make a lot of sense if you want strength. Some people also believe metal threads can be used over and over again without wearing it out. But are any of these two things actually true? We are about to find out. Okay, so let's talk about our testing setup. All of these tests will be done using cherry lumber because it is a nice middle of the ground hardwood. We're also using 1/4 threads because, to be quite honest with you, I've spent a lot of money on testing equipment for this video as is, and I'm not about to go buy more crazy industrial equipment to capture those high forces. So we'll be using this extremely popular style of threaded inserts that come with the recommended pilot hole size of 25th 64th of an inch because, you know, we all have one of those bits around in the shop. For the wood tap threads, I will be using this bottoming metal tap I got from Amazon for $5. This bit has less taper at the tip when compared to conventional metal tap, and as a result, it cuts the threads nearly all the way through at the bottom. And because we're tapping threads into wood, we don't really have to follow recommended metal pilot hole sizes. I'm using a smaller 13/64 of a bit that should give us some nice, perfectly cut snug threads. One of the main advantages of using wood tap threads is how easy it is to make them. You simply drill a hole and then drive the wood tap with a drill. Done deal. On the other hand, metal inserts are a pain to install. In the case of this insert, we need to drill a 25th 64th of an inch of a hole and then countersink that hole to accept the flange part of the insert. We then drive the insert into the wood using an Allen key or one of these T-shaped thingamabob. No matter the tool, I usually have a hard time keeping things plumb as I insert the piece, which can result in a wonky fit. Because I know you guys will ask, in addition to keeping the metal inserts as is, I will be adding another test using super glue to lock the threaded inserts to see if it helps strengthen anything. In the same way, I will be using super glue to harden the wood tap threads. So in total, there are 4 sample pieces: threaded insert plus super glue, wood tap threads, and wood tap threads plus super glue. The first test is going to be an endurance test. According to the United States Census data, an average American moves 11.7 times in their lifetime. For the metric folks, an average Brit moves 8 times in their lifetime. Thought that was interesting. Since threaded inserts are used for knockdown joinery for moving, I'm going to simulate that by assembling and disassembling a bolt not just 12 times, but 100 times. So here I have our 4 types of test pieces. I'm going to insert a 1/4 bolt 0.6 inches deep in all instances because that is the length of our metal threaded insert, and we want to make things a little bit comparable between tests. Using a dial indicator, I am first measuring the amount of runout before the testing begins so we can compare it after the test. While I expected the initial runout to be the same in both metal threaded inserts, that was not really the case here. Interestingly, the wood tap threads had an initial runout of 0.019 inches, and the super glue threaded insert barely had any runout at 0.001 inches. Using a hand drill at a clutch setting of number 5, which felt pretty sufficient for how much torque I would normally apply to a bolt, I am going to insert and remove the bolt 100 times on each of the 4 samples. And right away, we've got a problem. The wood tap threads in both instances made it to 100, though they did take a little bit of a beating. Unfortunately, neither of the metal inserts made it that far. The outer threads that meet the wood gave up in both instances where the inserts would spin freely and I could not move forward with the test. The bare threaded inserts got to 38 attempts, while the super glue insert made it to 30 attempts. I don't think the small difference between the 38 and the 30 is meaningful, but it is important to know that they both failed so early in the testing. Okay, now measuring the post-test runout, The insert had a pre-test runout of 0.033 inches, while the post-test runout came out to 0.055 inches. For the super glue threaded insert, we had a pre-test runout of 0.022 inches and a post-test runout of 0.027 inches. Most of the metal insert runout is from failure between the wood and the outer threads, and because of that, the super glue helped the second test perform a little bit better. For the wood tap threads, the bare sample had a pre-test runout of 0.019 inches and a post-test runout of 0.041 inches. The tap threads with super glue had a pre-test runout of 0.001 inches and a post-test runout of 0.029 inches. Comparing the results side by side, you can see both wood tap threads and metal inserts perform similarly when most people would have expected the wood tap threads to fail in this test. If anything, the metal inserts failed because we couldn't really make it to the 100 tries, and the wood tap threads look like it can still go back for some more. On the next test, I'm going to strip the threads by over torquing them. Oh, and I've upgraded the bolts to stainless steel because the basic bolts from the home center didn't hold up. Here, I have the same force setup as before. In order to measure the torque, I will be using this digital torque wrench and set it to peak measurement. Using a double nut locked bolt set at 0.06 inches depth, I'm going to continue to spin it until the threads give up. Starting with the bare metal inserts, it took 37 inch-pounds of torque, and the failure was not actually the metal threads, instead between the outer threads and the wood. I did another 4 samples and removed the lowest and highest value and got an average of 37 inch-pounds for the bare threaded inserts. The threaded inserts with super glue took an average of 36 inch-pounds with the same type of failure as before. The bare wood tap threads took an average of 52.7 inch-pounds, and the wood tap threads with super glue took an average of 66.3 inch-pounds. Looking at the summary, you can see the wood tap threads take a lot more torque to fail when compared to metal inserts. And the use of super glue in wood tap threads definitely help add a little bit of strength. The metal inserts take far less torque to fail in both cases and gave up between the outer thread and the wood. Our third and final test is the most fun. In this test, I will yank the bolt straight up and try to strip the threads in the process. This is our setup. At the bottom, we have our piece of wood with a bolt 0.6 inches threaded into the test piece. The bolt is attached to a crane scale that will tell us how much we're pulling on the bolt. The scale is attached to a chain hoist for pulling because I've got weak arms. Starting with the bare threaded insert, the first sample took 252 pounds of force to pull it out. I did another 4 samples and again removed the lowest and the highest value for an average of 234 pounds of force. All of these 5 samples failed between the threaded insert and the wood. Using the threaded insert locked with CA glue, it took an average of 285.7 pounds of pulling force. Moving forward to the bare wood tap threads, it took an average of 494.3 pounds of force. It is really fascinating to see how the wood fails all at once and shatters the wood fibers along the grain. Examining a little closer, you can see the actual threads appear to be in perfectly good shape, while the rest of the wood surrounding it is what fails. Now, for the final piece where the wood tap threads have been stabilized by using super glue, it was a little tight and I had to use a wrench to get it all the way seated. These samples took an average of 472 pounds to pull out. Looking at the summary, the yanking test results show a clear strength among wood tap threads when compared with metal threaded inserts. Let's be frank here. 1/4 threads are tiny, and in most woodworking projects you can use much bigger and deeper threads on even harder woods that'll give you substantially more holding power. I'm not here to convince you to use wood tap threads. I just want you to know that wood tap threads are a lot stronger and better than you might have originally thought. If you have any interesting woodworking testing ideas, let me know in the comments down below. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.